Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Atari ST A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari ST games, some of which I grew up with and some of which are new to me. Today is one of the former. This is Haunted House, developed by Paradox Software and published by Eidersoft. This was actually a public domain game, but a lot of Paradox Software's stuff was released in actual boxed copies and things. This was regarded as a demo game, but it is actually a full experience you can play all the way through, so I'm not entirely sure why they called it a demo game. They did then later release a game called Space Station, which was practically exactly the same game with a different skin and slightly different level layouts, but the actual execution of the game was almost identical. So you ran around, you collected objects, you had this extremely dodgy run cycle animation, you had those lifts that were impossible to get over. Oh my god. Oh dear. I do apologise. Trouble is the collision detection is more than a little bit dodgy. You got a very floaty jump. Now, this isn't an especially amazing game or anything, but I do have some quite fond memories of it, even though I vividly recall my brother tearing it to shreds in a review for Page 6 magazine. Perhaps justifiably so, because it's not amazing. I mean, there's a lot of things this could do a lot better, like the collision detection for one would be lovely if they improved that. See, I didn't even touch that and I go flying. But there's some interesting things about it. The fact it was public domain was interesting. So public domain software, freeware software, we sort of take quite for granted these days with freebies available all over the internet for all sorts of things. But that concept has been around since the earliest days of computing. Both in the form of games you could type in from magazines. So Page 6 magazine that I mentioned beforehand, one of the things they did every month is that they had... Why can't I get that? Yeah, one of the things they had every month was they had several listings that you could type into the Atari computer's built-in BASIC interpreter, save to disc or cassette, and then you had a working utility or game that you could make use of whenever you wanted, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, the public domain was also distributed by, well, distributors. So, for example, Page 6, as well as offering these type-in listings, they had a public domain library where you could pay them basically the cost of post and packaging and disc duplication and such like. And they would send you a disc with free software on it. And that free software might be games, it might be utilities, it might be add-ons for things, it might be unofficial expansion packs and mods and construction sets and all things like that. So it was a really sort of fascinating time, really. And this game was distributed as part of, I think they called it the ST demo. So it was a package of several things that came together in one bundle. So I think there was a Pac-Man game. There was a series of desktop accessories, which were little things that you could run within the GEM environment, so the basic operating system for the computer. And then this as well. And the other interesting thing about this is, something that was quite common to games by Paradox Software, which was the fact that the soundtrack made use of the Atari ST's MIDI capabilities. Now, you can't hear that here, unfortunately, because you're just hearing the standard PSG sounds. But has that remembered all the crosses that I've taken? I think it has, hasn't it? Yeah. So this made use of the Atari ST's built-in MIDI compatibility, which was always a big selling point for the Atari ST over and above the Amiga, because although the Amiga had a much better built-in sound chip that was capable of doing lovely digital sound and stuff like that, the Atari ST had MIDI ports built right into its hardware, which meant that you could just plug in a keyboard and or other MIDI device and just use it straight away. So with games like Haunted House and Space Station that I mentioned before, and there was a shoot 'em up called Chopper X, I think, as well, where you could do it as well. You could plug in a keyboard or a MIDI module that could produce sound, and instead of the music coming out of the ST, it would come out of your keyboard, which was gobsmacking at the time. Of course, these days it's pretty primitive because it only does like single channel, single patch MIDI sound, so it's just playing with one voice. But that does mean that you can set up your keyboard to play the soundtrack to the song on whatever instrument you please. So if you really wanted to hear the theme from Haunted House on the Atari ST played on the bagpipes, now you can. You always could. Which is pretty nice. I have no idea how you reach that. That looks impossible. Let's leave that one for now. So the aim in Haunted House here is simply to collect all the crosses and then escape. I've never done that because it appears to be literally impossible to do so, but well, you never know. As I say, it does seem to be carrying across our progress each time we die, so it seems to be remembering which crosses we've already taken, so perhaps you can do it across several run-throughs. Let's see how far we can get. I'm dead again. Yeah, so this game is not, aside from the MIDI support that is, this game is not the best demonstration of what the ST was capable of in terms of graphics and sound. However, it is still a fun game that reminds me very much of sort of old 8-bit games, things like Jet Set Willy and such like. So, particularly things like the predictable movement patterns of all the enemies and the room-by-room layout, and the fact that it's a sort of early example of an open environment that you can explore freely. See, everyone credits stuff like Metroid and things like that with creating the kind of 2D open world adventure, but in fact 8 and 16-bit computer games had been doing that for a long time by the time even Metroid came out, so yeah, in your face, Nintendo. Ouch. Yeah, never been a big fan of the energy system in this. One, because it counts down constantly, a bit like in Gauntlet, only much faster. And two, just because it sort of seems to make for a slightly... I don't like using the word lazy, but I mean it kind of is lazy in this case, because it just means that they don't really have to do well-designed enemy encounters. It means you can just have to sort of brute force your way through them. Because if you had one-hit kills in this, you'd actually have to design the game carefully and properly to make sure it was actually possible to get past each enemy. Whereas in this, you can just have this ghost moving back and forward here, and you can just say, oh well, the player can just suck up a couple of thousand points of damage. There is still a slight element of skill. I mean, you can time your movements to kind of minimise how much damage you take, but there is no way of avoiding damage in most cases. Right. We are getting there. We've got most of the crosses now, I think, and we found the exit, so we need to find the key now. Anything else that way? No, that room's done. Can't jump over there because the ceiling's too low. See, it does occasional things like that where it's sort of it's paying attention to the environment, and other times it's not. How the hell do you get that one? Do we have to jump off something? Jump off the windowsill, maybe? I get stuck in the floor, that's good. Oh. Hello. Ah, there we go. Got it. Pro skills. So yeah, like I say, this is not an amazing game by any means, but I do have very fond memories of it. It's a game I often booted up just to hook it up to the keyboard, hear the music through the keyboard, have that cool MIDI sound. I mean, it's not an amazing piece of music, it's not a very long piece of music either, so it did get repetitive after a while, even when played on various... I got the key! Yay! Even when played on various different instruments, but... yeah, it was cool. It was something unusual at the time, and I liked it for that. I think we might actually be able to beat this, which will be exciting because I've never actually beaten this before. Largely because I'd never noticed the fact that it kept your progress even if you died. So I'd always worked on the assumption that you had to get all the crosses in one go. And thus, when I died, I assumed I'd have to start all over again, and I'd get annoyed, and I just wouldn't bother carrying on. Now I know that's not the case, however. Victory is within our grasp. We've only got 700 life points, so maybe not on this run, because that ghost, all those green things, are clearly going to kill us. Yep, dead. Right, I think we can probably finish it on this run, though. So if we just head straight for the exit, don't really need to worry too much about energy because we've got loads of it, because we just started a new run. And that down there, I believe, is the last cross. So I guess the sort of replay value in this game comes from trying to get as many crosses and things as you possibly can in one go. How do we leave? Yeah, okay, maybe we can't beat it. Do I have to go and get the key again? Yeah, so the replay value, I guess, evidently comes from, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a one credit clear of sorts. So rather than getting all the crosses across several playthroughs, you want to try and do as much as possible in a single playthrough as you can. Thing is, I'm not sure the energy system and the collision detection makes that possible in the slightest. As I say, this never was the best designed game in the world, but one that I have fond memories of regardless. No, key's not there anymore, so... well, I don't know. I'm out of ideas. I missed a cross? I can't see one anywhere. And I think we've been in every room. Right, let's have one more look around, and then we will give up. Because the other possibility, of course, is that the developers decided that no one was ever going to finish this, and thus they didn't bother to finish it. I can't say for sure if that is the case or not, but you never know. It has been known to happen sometimes. Well, there might be a room we've not been in yet. Hold on, let's have a look. This way. How do we get up there? Have to go this way? Yes. I don't know the fact you lose energy for using those boosty things as well. That's quite annoying. Oh no, we're just up here again. Well, I'm actually stumped in that case. Hold on. Wait, no. Hold on, that doesn't make any sense. Because if I go up here, I end up in that room. And if we go back this way... I'm not imagining things, am I? If we go up here, we end up in that same room. That's why I was confused. Now, as I say, with the with the whole nature of this game, I have no idea if that's deliberate or if that's a bug. So, I'm going to err on the side of saying this is unbeatable. At least by this point, you've had a chance to see how it all works, and the general standard of software from Paradox and Eidersoft, which was not especially high, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not worth checking out. Like I say, I've always enjoyed them, despite their many flaws. So let's leave that there for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue the small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.